Now this is a new show which I'm going to be tentatively calling LGR Nostalgic Discharge, and this is where I just get things off my mind which I want to share with you, but I haven't got the time to make a proper video about it yet. Being a PC owner in the 90s brought two things. One was great power, because PCs were more powerful than anything else you could get. Two was great responsibility, because although they were powerful, they required a lot of work compared to your typical Amiga, your Atari games console. You know, you had to deal with memory issues, compatibility issues, driver issues, sound card, video card, DOS issues, freeing up conventional memory, high memory, extra memory, extended memory. All these things we had to deal with, but it was worth it. By Jove, it was worth it. One thing which always comes back to me is Windows utilities and system optimisation utilities, and these are the software programs which attempted to improve your performance, give you extra RAM, give you better on-screen resolution, better CPU speed, all of these things via software. And it might sound like a bit of an oxymoron, getting more RAM by loading another program into memory, but that is exactly what a line of programs intended to do in the 90s. Magna Ram 2 is what this is. Now this was released in the 90s along with, about 95, along with various other similar programs which attempted to double your memory, such as Quarterdeck Qemm, which was the predecessor to this, and that helped free up your conventional memory, and this was the 640k of DOS memory that PCs used to have and which most 16-bit programs relied on. Now, DOS didn't ship with its own program to sort this out until DOS 6.1, I think, something like that, which was MemMaker. And basically you had to load your various drivers in the right order in your batch and startup files, drivers for your CD-ROM and your sound card. You had to load them in the right order to make the most of your conventional memory. If you loaded them in the wrong order, you'd run out of conventional memory and stuff wouldn't load. Also, you could cut some drivers out, like keyboard maps and stuff like that, just to free up a bit of memory just to load your favourite game. What Quarterdeck Qemm did was try and automate this process, and then subsequent programs like Magna Ram for Windows took this a step further and tried to compress your memory and effectively give you more RAM without having to pay for expensive RAM chips. And RAM was bloody expensive at the time. We're talking a time when 4 megabytes was the best part of 100 quid. Why would you buy 4 megabytes when you could double your RAM for a 30 quid software package? But it's not all that it seemed. Essentially what these programs tried to do was manage your Windows conventional memory, your upper memory and your extended memory. Now conventional memory is the first 640 kilobytes of RAM you got in your machine. Upper memory is the 640k to 1 megabyte space which you got, which most programs in Windows couldn't make use of. And extended memory is 1 megabyte plus. Now Windows 3.1 onwards could use 32-bit memory mapping, which allowed it to use up to 4 gigabytes of memory in theory. But the way Windows 3.1 worked, Windows 3.0, was that it had resources. And these resources were made out of 6 64 kilobyte stacks. And programs used to load into extended memory, so into the 32-bit area up to 4 gigabytes or whatever you had. But part of these programs always had to load into these resource stacks. And if that resource stack ran out, you would get memory errors. So if you try to open multiple programs like Word, calculator, desktop publishing, at some point your resource allocation would expire. And as well as doubling your memory, these programs tried to fix that problem, although Magna Ram 2 needed Qemm additionally to do that. So we had programs like Helix Hurricane, which was by far the best memory doubling software available at the time, and that used to effectively manage your resources and your upper memory and extended memory. And that didn't use software compression because memory compression, because memory compression was a bit of a dodgy area, to be fair. There was also a software package called RAM Doubler, which compressed your memory. And all these compression techniques involved the use of getting the Windows swap file and managing that. So what Windows does is, when it runs out of normal memory, it starts swapping your memory to the hard drive. And what these programs did was take a percentage of your proper memory and allocate that as a virtual swap file, if you like, so that when Windows started swapping stuff to the hard drive, it didn't swap it to the hard drive, it swapped it to this compressed area that these programs were managing. And then when that compressed area ran out, that compressed data was then moved to the hard drive. So you have less hard drive use and you have less memory use. In reality, this used quite a lot of system resources and CPUs weren't very quick at the time. I mean, if you try running this on a 386 or a 486 SX, for example, then you're going to get quite a lot of slowdown. And you know, Windows 95 used to manage these things a lot better, but these problems were mainly Windows 3.1 related. There was one software package called SoftRam 95, which is an immense story because this RAM package, this doubler package, tried to do, you know, claimed to double your memory, claimed to do all this fantastic stuff to your resources, had a little control panel with like gauges which showed you how much you were saving. In reality, this was a complete shash. Complete scam, because it didn't do anything. There was various analysis done by various labs, and they found that the package just slowed Windows down. It replaced the DLL, which managed the swap file, and just made it bigger, and put debug mode on, which slowed everything down, didn't compress any memory, did rubbish, didn't do anything. So the company which made it said, I know, we'll do our own independent lab tests to prove you guys wrong and prove it does something. And they did their own independent lab tests and they proved that it didn't do anything either on the Windows 95. Although they claimed it did on the Windows 3.1. It didn't. So in the end, SoftRam had to recall all the packages and offer refunds to all the poor mugs who'd bought this package thinking it would double their memory. And this was like an $80 software package. It wasn't cheap. And then soon after they went out of business. But you know, these memory doublers remain a massively intriguing part of the 90s to me. I love them. It's just something about what they were trying to achieve and what I was trying to achieve by boosting my computer's power through these little hacks and software programs. When I didn't have much money, you know, this is when I was young, 15, whatever, 14, had much money, so I had to rely on stuff like this to try and boost my computer's performance, and it didn't really work, sadly. Anyway, I'll be making a proper video on this soon because I love it. But I just wanted to express my feelings towards you at the moment. So, I hope to do some more of these. Thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.